The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America.
More salad.
Little piece of you.
Welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host here, Leland Faegre. And it's a beautiful spring day.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. And
A little bit of wind up at the lake, but
yeah,
not,
well, I
not
like
down
the
here.
wind,
I
actually.
do. I do too.
Yeah.
It's just erosive.
open the windows and let the air in, right? Yeah, it's great. So there's, as usual, there are things to talk about in the news.
Is there?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Okay.
One thing is that, this 9/11 style commission to deal with the so-called insurrection
Yeah.
is, going to be opposed by the Republicans. I don't think they've defeated it yet.
And even McConnell,
right.
which tells you everything you need
Right.
to know about it, because he'd be for it if there
Yeah.
was any legitimacy whatsoever.
Well, these commissions, they never give us the truth. I mean,
No.
do you really believe the Warren Commission, the 9/11 Commission?
You remember it was Kissinger that was first selected for the 9/11 Commission.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? Kissinger?
Kissinger.
What was he trying to cover up?
Yeah.
What was he there to
Uh-huh.
blow over?
And so it'll be the same thing. They'll milk it, and plus the commission would probably wrap up right before the 2024 election.
Yeah, yeah.
So they can get some more fodder out of it that way.
And that's really all it is.
Yeah.
It's political cover for those who want the status quo,
Right.
everything to remain the same.
Right. So anyway, hopefully they'll be able to defeat that. Actually, it doesn't look like Biden's going to get anything through.
It really doesn't. The longer they take to get, which is why they were in a hurry right out of the gate
Right.
to pull off all this stuff, because they knew they didn't have much time.
Susan Rice had all those executive orders waiting for him on his desk, know?
And by the way, where is Susan Rice?
Well, she's
We
the
know she's there.
domestic czar, but we never see her.
No, she's in a closet somewhere. They don't bring her out. Why are they afraid to show her?
I don't know.
I think we know the answer to that.
Do you?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, because her reputation is associated with the previous administration.
Oh, okay.
I mean
You
Trump.
mean Obama?
Obama. Yeah.
Yeah, so that,
So
well,
they don't want
I mean,
that.
they're pretty blatant about all the Obama people.
Everything else they
Right.
are, but she's, she is right in there. She was among the 18 that were plotting against Trump and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. They were all plotting against Trump.
Oh, everybody, yeah. But those were visible faces and people that we saw on our nightly news cycle. And so they don't want to be associated with that.
No.
They want the appearance of being a unique administration, but the reality is that they're not.
And, to sum it up, or what sums this up, is the vote over giving the Capitol Police approximately $2 billion for new equipment. Only in Washington, D.C. do you fail and then get more money.
Nothing succeeds like failure in Washington.
Right. But what the AOC and the squad did was they gaslighted their followers, and this is what is happening on all these bills. They AOC and Tlaib and Bowman voted present on the Capitol Hill Police funding bill, and
Yeah.
the three other members of the squad voted no, and the bill passed by one vote.
Mm-hmm.
So if AOC and her crew voted no, if all of them did, instead of present, the bill would have been defeated. So, what you're getting from the Democrats is a lot of rhetoric about all these radical things, but when push comes to shove, they just never seem to quite have the
never
votes.
quite get there. It's really something to watch, isn't it? Spectacle.
It is. So we know nothing will fundamentally change, and that appears to be the goal as well as the mantra.
And they know it too.
yes.
So they're clearly doing it for partisan purposes,
right,
electoral strategies.
right.
They care nothing about this country.
No, they don't. Well, I don't know if the Republicans do either, to be honest with you. Some of them do, But I think the majority of them don't care at all either.
But I think we're weeding those out.
Hopefully.
We're finding them.
Hopefully.
Smoking them out. And well, the 25 that voted for this bill in the
Right.
House are examples of that. But they always claim that they're doing it for altruistic purposes,
Sure.
But I mean, if the
They're here to help people.
but if it's if Mitch McConnell doesn't want it, why are you there?
Right.
That would be my question to them.
Yeah, I got to pull out the old Reagan line, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
The most frightening words in American lexicon.
Right.
Shut up.
So the squad basically wants to defund the police, except for their police, the ones that are guarding them.
Yeah, and some of them even have private security.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the
Oh, yeah,
Capitol
they do,
Police.
yeah.
And I think AOC is one of them.
Right. Well, she has PTSD. She was scared for her life.
Yeah, even though she wasn't there.
Exactly.
Let me repeat that for our listening audience.
Yes.
She wasn't there.
She wasn't in the Capitol building.
So she lied when she claimed that she was anywhere close to what was happening at the Capitol Dome.
And she made one of Rashid Tlaib's aides give her shoes so she could run faster.
Was that what? Yeah, that's right. I heard that.
You're a lying dog-faced pony show.
Yeah, well, that's what we heard. I wasn't there, but
Well, I think the health bill now has been postponed till the fall, which means it won't be heard. That means the winter.
yeah,
They'll be going for the election then.
that's right. Yeah.
What are they going to run on, these people?
That it's not Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Help us defeat Donald Trump in 2024, even
Yeah.
though he's not running yet.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending story. The people in Washington don't give a flying, about us.
Yeah.
And all they're interested in is their own careers. And anybody that votes, except with rare exceptions, anybody that votes for anybody to really make change, it's not going to happen through the political process.
But I hear that dynamic is what happens once you get there. They start off motivated by altruism, purpose, and somehow or another it
just goes away.
It's eviscerated.
Yeah.
The driving force in truck and auto repair. Everybody knows dynamic diesel. This overload.
Shannon Lawson here. Join us for the Nevada Radio Roundup, Fridays at 2 p.m. A good news variety show all about the local scene. The Nevada Roundup, Friday at 2.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. My co-host is Leland Faegre. And for those of us that think we're in the resistance, we had a bit of good news.
What do you mean think we're in the resistance?
Yeah, well, we hope we are.
Yeah.
The Lukashenko's revenge served cold.
Served cold, yeah.
Yes. And as he diverted a plane flying from Athens to Vilnius, Lithuania.
Close enough.
Yeah, which was the country that was most involved with the Soros color revolution that didn't quite get him out of office after the election last summer. And when the plane landed for the supposed bomb threat, they arrested a passenger named Roman Protasevich. And I'll just call him Roman from now on.
I like Protasevich.
Protasevich?
Yeah.
All right. Well, he was a so-called, air quotes, journalist during the attempted color revolution last summer.
And for our listeners, when they use the term, the description journalist,
Yes.
the translation is intelligence.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So he was in Athens for a Davos-like conference of the globalist elites that they hold there periodically. And the ambassador, and here's a blast from the past, Ambassador Piat. Remember him? He was now the ambassador to Greece. He used to be the ambassador to Ukraine. He was on the phone call with Victoria Nuland when she said, F the EU and Yats is our guy. Mm-hmm. He was there.
Yep.
So, and there were several other regime changers there. So he's accused of, like you said, intelligence, being more than a journalist, but taking information from the ambassador or others there to Lithuania, yep. Which, like I said, is the seat with Poland, along with Poland, of the attempt to flip Belarus from a Russian friend to a NATO friend. Right.
Orbit, yeah.
Right. So he was already on the Belarus terror watch list.
Yeah, which was the premise for
right.
the predicate for bringing it.
Right. Right. So, and Roman we have more information about this character, Roman. He's a partner of the Atlantic Council fellow Franek Vikorka. And Vikorka is a U.S. trained and financed regime change operator. They ran the Telegram channel Nexta, N-E-X-T-A, based in Poland and operating in Belarus. And Ramon has also worked for Euro Radio, CIA's Radio Liberty.
There you go.
Yep. Nexta has to be a state-funded operation. They produce videos daily. And the founder, Stephen Putila of Nexta, also has ties to the Polish Foreign Ministry. But the main thing is that...
I'm really curious about that connection.
Yeah. The Ukraine media has reported that at some time that Ramon worked for the press service of Azov Brigade, which is the neo-Nazi paramilitary that was involved in the Donbass War and still was. I mean, they fly the Nazi flag and they wear their version of the SS symbol on their shirts and everything.
Does Vladimir know this?
Well, Navalny does, because Navalny is associated with them as well. Right. Everybody thinks these guys are liberals, but they're not. No. They're neo-Nazis. Yep. And Belarus lost 25% of its population fighting the Nazis in World War II. They don't like neo-Nazis. So supposedly he's singing. There's a picture put out of him, and so this, of course, this incident caused everybody in Europe to go bonkers. The EU Parliament had emergency meeting, and Ursula von der Leyen, the new president of the EU, she was speaking out against it. Nobody mentioned how just a few years ago the West forced down the plane up with President Morales of Ecuador to look for Edward Snowden on a Moscow to Quito flight. Yeah. And actually,
it's something they have used throughout modern history.
Right. At least since 1954, there's probably a half dozen incidents. Turkey, the United States, Canada, the Ukraine, Austria, all these countries have been involved in doing the same thing that Lukashenko did.
Let's check it for bombs.
Yeah, that's right. That's the ticket. Yeah, bombs.
Yeah, bombs. Everybody understands that.
Right. So, and
it's all on the threshold of this summit that's coming.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole
Biden
thing.
and Putin are going to meet.
Yeah.
Did you see how Blinken tried to pat Lavrov on the shoulder?
I didn't.
At the meeting they had?
I did not see that.
No, it was so awkward. He went like this, and Lavrov just didn't even look at him.
They're trying so hard.
I know.
And it's obvious.
And so they made a few minor concessions, but they're not going to make any major concessions. We know what Russia wants. Putin was talking about red lines and so on, and basically they want to be left alone in their country and in the former Soviet Union countries like Belarus and Ukraine and Georgia in particular. They want the U.S. to stop doing regime change in those countries.
But Putin rhetorically has been quite vocal about, the way it used to be. He doesn't want that anymore.
No, exactly. They're tired of it.
Yeah.
They're willing to give up trade with Europe, and so is China, to get all these sanctions and
Nord Stream, right on the, it all just ties in to what we're experiencing right now. He's had it.
Yeah.
And he knows who he's dealing with also, I think it's fair to say that Putin is was quite comfortable with Trump as an alternative from the American, historical precedent. And now he's right back to where it was before. So I think we're going to hear a lot from Putin going forward here.
I think he's going to that summit just to see for himself what Biden's mental state is like.
Well, and also because he's going to look really good coming out of it, I think, compared to Biden.
Right. Well, almost anybody could look good compared to Biden.
Yeah, good point.
But
You know the thing.
Yeah. So they're very upset that, this is like Crimea. I think Crimea was justified under international law for a variety of reasons, but it's not going to be adjudicated. They're not going to adjudicate it.
I'm with you on that. I think that was legitimate.
But so now this is the same thing. Even though the West can do it, apparently if you're not in the West, if you're on the other side, as it were, which is ridiculous. I mean, Russia is a conservative Christian country. The Republican Party is supposed to be a conservative Christian party. Why don't the Republicans get along with Russia like Trump wanted them to? It's so obvious that
Peter Doocy asked Psaki, Circleback Psaki, that whether there was going to be preconditions for this summit.
What did she say?
She said there were no preconditions.
No preconditions.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, Circleback Psaki. I'm going to add the P to her name. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Even though it's supposed to be
Saki?
silent? Yeah.
It wouldn't be pronounced much, but it would be there, like sake or something like that. Saki.
Like Japanese wine.
Yeah. Well, she's another piece of work, but, Putin said recently, he gave a talk to the Duma, and he said, if you try to take a bite out of Russia, the bear will eat your face.
Yeah, and those kinds of statements recently sort of punctuate where Putin is, I think, psychologically right now. He's had it.
I know.
I think we're going to see more of that.
Tired of being insulted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
you can only take so much. So if Rahman is a courier, the story is that as soon as he realized the plane was landing in Belarus, he gave his laptop to somebody else. I don't know whether they have it, but
he knew.
They probably have it. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew what was up.
Yep. So.
Well, it's not like they hadn't gone after Lukashenko previously.
No, of course not.
So, it was in the air.
And, it wasn't covered. I don't even think we talked about it because it was like a sidebar issue at the time. But now it's even more relevant. The Ukraine Secret Service pulled a sting right before the attempted election protests and everything, in which they got some mercenaries who were involved in the struggle over the Maidan and the immediate aftermath, who are now living in Russia. They convinced them that that Russia had a job for them to guard the Syrian oil fields, and they were going to fly over They were going to fly over the Ukraine airspace, and they were going to do the exact same thing to these mercenaries, but instead, they bungled that somehow, and it landed in Minsk to make a connection to go to Syria, I guess, and then they tried to tell Lukashenko that they were Russian spies out to topple his regime.
So much for fresh thinking.
Yeah, so that only took a couple of phone calls to Putin to straighten that out. So that's why this is double revenge. It's not only revenge for the coup, but it's double revenge for this operation that the Ukrainians tried to pull.
Double revenge served cold?
Double revenge served cold.
I see where there's no, apparently they're finding a great deal of fraud in Arizona, according to Donald Trump.
Would you like more energy? A photon sound beam may be the solution you need. A photon sound beam uses electrical energy to ionize gases that generate ozone and light to enter your body directly through the skin.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsythe Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and I'm here with Leland Faegre discussing the news of the day from a different perspective than you're likely to get from CNN or even Fox.
Yeah, it'll save you time because all you have to do is listen to the show, and then you can go about your world, and and you've got the quintessential parts to this that you won't get anywhere else.
So, yep. So the left is calling it the big lie, but it looks like it may be the honest truth instead. Mm-hmm. And the ballot forensic audits in Arizona, in particular, and in other states,
and they had
Georgia.
They had so much time to pull this off. Mm-hmm. For months. They knew what they needed to do. They needed to know how many votes they needed in order to supply those votes after they shut down the counting. And it was either a bullet in his head or we're going to steal the election from you because the New World Order must go on.
Right.
Excuse me, we can only re-elect Donald Trump.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's what we witnessed. That's what we're experiencing now in the aftermath. I don't know how they're going to deal with this. I mean, the Justice Department is threatening to intervene in Arizona. They haven't done so yet. But they've got a few people on the ground there that are telling them what they want to hear, you know. And apparently the Senate, the Arizona Senate, is not getting cooperation from the Maricopa Board of Supervisors.
No.
And then there are other examples of this fraud going on elsewhere in the country, in Georgia and Michigan and Wisconsin and elsewhere.
And
Bannon says the most obvious example of the fraud was in Wisconsin.
We choose truth over facts.
Yeah.
So this Jovan Hutton Pulitzer,
right?
He is a major figure. I saw him testify. I can't remember exactly the methodology that he uses, but he's the inventor of the QR code.
Uh-huh.
He's an expert on scanning, and he has says he has the way to verify all paper ballots.
Paper, it's
mail-in and everything else, right? And so if that's true, that could help shut down a lot of fraud.
Well, that has to be job one.
Yes.
Going into the next election. And the general election I'm referring to is next year. We're talking about a year from now, basically. Never mind the fact that the presidential election is 2 years following that. I mean, there's so much on the line here. But
yep. And so we shall see if the big lie is actually the God's honest truth.
Georgia Republicans have confronted Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and his sidekick, Gabe Sterling. Have you ever seen this guy, Sterling?
No, I don't think I have.
He doesn't even look like a bureaucrat, you know. I'm not sure what they're supposed to look like, but this guy does.
They look like Ned in the State Department.
Yeah, that kind of thing, yeah. Sterling in December to do their job, but unfortunately this landed on deaf ears. Georgia is a problem, and it's a southern state, so our enemies want that to go blue in perpetuity.
Right.
That's job one here. It's not going to work in Texas, but Georgia.
Stacey Abrams, that romance novel author.
Yeah. She's damn good. What a writer, huh?
Yeah.
Sizzle.
Yeah.
Wasn't that embarrassing when Tucker read that out loud? Who would read that nonsense?
I don't know, but I had a couple of friends in Reno that they both passed away, but they were writers, but they got their start doing soft porn and like that, you know.
Was it better than hers?
I hope so.
Yeah, because that was awful.
I know. She could feel the hot blood surging through her veins.
And I want to remind our listeners that she's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Ah.
Now, why would they want her in that club?
Mm-hmm.
These are 5,000 of the most important people in the United States. And they are globalist in nature. They want everything decided at the international level. Yeah,
right.
So they send her an invitation because you don't solicit them.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They send you an invitation if they want you.
Okay.
So somebody there wanted her in the club. Like going back to George Carlin, you know, you're not part of the club. And she's part of the club.
Yep.
And you would not think that she could possibly be a part of that club. And yet she's very influential in that space in Georgia.
Yeah, she really wanted to be vice president.
Well, now she's made it clear that she wants to be president.
Oh, yeah, that's her long range goal.
Yeah.
Like 2024, that's long range.
But she still maintains that her gubernatorial bid was pulled out from under
Well, she
her.
won the election.
She won the election.
We know
That's
that.
Right.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, she's bitter. And you see it on her face. And, you know, you don't want somebody like that anywhere close to power.
No.
The psychology, you know.
No. Well, the left is full of bitter people.
Yeah.
You know, they really are. And victims and you know, perpetual victims and bitter people that you know, think that they can wind their way to success is basically the mantra that we see every day. But anyway,
it's our job to be sure
yep,
that these people are precluded from positions of authority in our life.
right.
That's our job.
Say what?
Right. Job one. You know,
Right.
That's job one.
Keep the bad guys out. But it's hard because they're so well connected, and you know, they have judges in high places. I mean,
Oh, it's been going on for a long time.
yeah. I mean, look at how they're treating the insurrectionists. I mean, I'm shocked that federal judges would be keeping these people locked up.
400 of these people.
Right.
And did you hear, I don't know if you caught Bongino this morning, you know, his new show is up and running. And he had Rand Paul on, and he says that the feds, the federales, are going through anybody who was in the vicinity of the Capitol that day. They're going to their Visa cards, however they got gasoline or food, we know wherever they were shopping in the general area of the Capitol, they're going through them.
Boy, when Rand Paul took out Fauci, that was the best thing since Tulsi took out Harris.
Yeah, and it wasn't a TKO either. It was blood
It's
on
all
the floor.
part of the plan.
So, I mean, and Rand is just sizzling hot right now.
Right.
On all the issues.
Right.
Really, really good.
Yep. Glad to see it.
I don't know how Mrs. Paul feels about it, but
Yeah, I mean, he had that white powder sent to his home and everything.
did you see him when Jennifer Terhune Green invited him here?
Yeah,
A few years
I
ago?
was there.
You were there in that
Yeah.
in that tiny little room?
Yep.
Oh, I'll be darned. Yeah, I was in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was great, quite cordial.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lovely guy. The guy kind of you'd have him over for dinner. You know,
Sure.
You'd want him, you know, in your neighborhood, so to speak.
Well, not the neighbor that beat him up.
No, not that. Not that.
Not
neighbor.
that neighbor.
He'd probably want out of there. But I had a brief conversation with him, and I liked him very much.
Yes.
Never mind how he thinks about the world, you know, but
Mhm.
just as a person.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's not that I'm against vaccinations, but the way vaccinations are constantly being pushed as the only therapy, and especially this RNA vax by Pfizer. I mean, I still haven't been vaccinated. I would probably take the Johnson & Johnson vax just so I can be convenient. But, you know, there's ivermectin. A lot of doctors are talking about ivermectin, which is a safe medicine used to treat internal parasites. And if that's supposed to be very effective against COVID-19, especially if you take it right away.
Well, they've made claims about other drugs as well, like hydroxychloroquine and some
Right.
of those. Yeah, I don't think there's any reason why. I mean, this. Let's be honest with it. When I went through my episode of the coronavirus, it was just 10 days of fatigue.
Right.
Most people, that's their experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big of a deal. You just don't want to climb a flight of stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
But for others who had comorbidity, it was obviously a serious sentence of health that they had to address, and some of them did require respiratory help and all that. I didn't have any of that, but it's there is a version of that virus out there that we've known about for many years that is potentially 15% lethal. This thing is less than 1%.
And it's also interesting because they've done a study on the great flu of 1918.
Yeah.
There were no variants.
Right.
It went right through the population with no variants. Now that they've got these vaccines, you see the virus mutating because of the vaccine, and we got all these new variants out there.
And they're having fun playing with
Yeah.
it. We've talked about this on the show. I just don't understand the mindset of that. Yeah, let's get some bats in here and start playing with them. What on earth are we dealing with? The mindset of these people. I mean, I want them to be creative and knowledgeable, but
Right.
at the same time, I think we got to look over these people's shoulders because
And
they
then
could be up to no good.
in England, the National Health Service, government-run health service, approved the vaccine for minors, and they're out there offering free ice cream for a jab.
Well, and then DeWine in Ohio is offering $1 million lottery rewards for showing up and getting the vaccine. So I mean, that's state money, by the way.
Right.
Does he have the constitutional authority to use?
I don't know, to set up a
federal
lottery?
authority to set up a lottery with our money? I don't live in Ohio.
No.
If he wanted to do it with Ohio money,
Mm-hmm.
I guess he'd be within his constitutional restraints to do that. But he's taking federal money. That's, last I checked, that's not constitutional.
Hi, I'm Kevin Campbell, owner of Dynamic Diesel. Thanks to our customers and vendors over 13 years, we're once again growing and expanding. That being said, we need light and heavy line mechanics, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, paid holidays, health insurance, and a generous 401k available.
Getting to know you.
Let me tell you about America Matters with Eddie Floyd. It comes on every Monday at noon. Don't want you to miss it. That's America Matters with Eddie Floyd.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. Final segment of Welcome to the Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and I'm here with Leland Faegre. And we should talk about what happened over the last 10 days in Israel with the what some people are calling the rocket intifada.
Who's calling it that?
I am.
Oh, okay. I'll go with that then.
Yeah, just when we were dancing on his political grave, Netanyahu is one of the big winners from what happened. He's just one lucky bastard.
Yeah, Patrick Buchanan says Bibi and Hamas were the only winners in that.
Exactly. And I didn't even read the column,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm going to say. Because he got to be the face of the Israeli response again. And so it's difficult to see how a government can be cobbled together that can keep him out.
Now, his official title now, or role there, is in defense now.
Right.
Because he's not prime minister.
Right, he's not prime minister anymore.
Right. So.
But he's the...
But you wouldn't know that by...
No, of course not. He's the only one we're really talking to.
Right.
Yeah. And,
Or about. Yeah.
He helped the settlers who started this whole thing with their attacks on Palestinians in the West Bank as they're, taking over their property. And and they were running through the streets yelling "Death to the Arabs." And then he helped that party get into the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, and then they returned the favor by starting a war for him to keep him out of jail. Don't forget, if he's not president, he's likely to go to jail. He's on trial for corruption.
Yeah, I don't think that's going anywhere, but they keep hanging that over his head.
Well, they do in Israel. They do put people in jail.
All right, well, just,
I think they even convicted his wife. And
yeah, they have charges against her, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't think that it went anywhere.
Yeah, but Miriam Adelson testified against her.
Right.
So the Adelsons kind of fell out of favor, or he fell out of favor with them. But anyway.
Complicated relationship.
Yeah, it gets complicated, more complicated than the actual war. But that's so. But
I know I'm going out on a thin branch here. I just don't think they have anything on Bibi.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it plans.
But Israel was not a winner, Israel itself, because more and more the veil on what they're actually doing is being pulled back, and Israel is, in many more circles, is being revealed as, just another European settler operation. And it really doesn't have much at all to do with their religion or anything else. So 100 women and children were killed, and the media center in Gaza was bombed and destroyed.
How many people did you say were killed?
100. I have 100 women and children, Palestinians, were killed.
I think it was about twice that.
Could be.
I think it was double that number, but
it could be. There are different reports coming out. And then the heavy-handed police raids on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Do you know that they want to build the third temple where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is now?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And when they build the third temple, according to the
what happens?
Dispensationalists,
now what happens?
The Antichrist is supposed to come and rule over us for 1,000 years.
Oh, well, that'll be a headline.
But for the Jews, it would herald the coming of the Messiah, or how they pronounce Messiah. Messiah, I think, is how they pronounce it. And then when he comes, the Jews will rule the world, and they'll have 2,000. Every Jew will have 2,500 goyim slaves to attend to his every need.
Wow.
People think Judaism, Islam is the religion of peace. They think Judaism is the religion of peace too.
For a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
As Thomas Paine would describe it, where's the reason in these religions?
I know. And then, of course, the spokesman, like Ned in the State Department, he was a piece of work. And then circle back, Psaki, when people were asking her, you say that Israel has the right to defend themselves. Do the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves? They weren't used to being asked these questions. And then there was the old dust-up with Geraldo Rivera, taking on first Katie Pavlich and then later taking on Dan Bongino.
I didn't see his exchange with her, but I did see the one with Bongino.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think Geraldo looked particularly well.
No, he turned
when you go to language, when you go to epithets and vulgar exchange, that's a weakness. That's a sign of weakness.
Right.
Bongino is just too damn good for Geraldo.
Yeah. He turned his back on him, he stopped the dialogues. That wasn't good. He was much better against Pavlich. But she's not the sharpest knife in the box. Like I said, he gets too emotional, Rivera, sometimes, and he flies off the handle. But
it's like he sees himself as somebody that has to be that person who has one leg in both camps. That's his role, he thinks. Or something.
Right. Well, he's Jewish, and he's a Zionist. You can't really be a Zionist and stick up for the Palestinians because it doesn't work unless you're going to go to a one-state solution, which would be the end of Zionism as we know it. So it doesn't really work. So, and then there was the story about how the AP, even after their headquarters was bombed, they fired this young, very attractive Jewish peace activist, Emily Wilder, kind of sleepy-eyed young lady. And she was hired to be a stringer in Arizona. She had no Middle East beat. But in college, several years ago, she posted a tweet that called the late Sheldon Alderson naked moleface. So, but, you know, AP is getting a lot of backlash over what they did to her. So the perception of Israel as this innocent victim defending itself against terrorists has been dealt another, maybe even a fatal blow. This could be the beginning of the end of all the good press. I know there are people like Weiss, who runs the website Mondo Weiss. He keeps saying that every time Israel does something bad, it's a turning point, and it never seems to be a turning point. But maybe this time it's actually a turning point.
Well, at some point, I guess, you know, the law of averages catches up to you.
And so, and Israel appears weak. She used up all of her Iron Dome missiles. And, of course, Blinken went over there and promised we're going to replenish all the missiles for him.
Antony,
yes. And, but, you know, Hezbollah has over 100,000 missiles. They didn't even get involved this time. But Hamas probably has 30,000 more missiles.
Oh, there's going to be an Israeli buildup.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of replenishing over the last
because if they had been receiving missiles from all sides, that would have been a much more difficult conflict for them. I mean, when I say all sides, I mean geographical sides.
Right.
From
they
the
had a
Syrian
few
theater.
that they claimed came from that area,
Did they?
Syria or Lebanon.
Yeah.
And then they had that one missile that landed within 200 kilometers of their nuclear plant. They freaked out over that. But like Pat Buchanan said, Hamas is the big winner. The Palestinian Authority is so weak that the leader, Abbas, he has to keep putting off the election because he knows he's going to lose. And for the first time since 1936, there was a general strike in Israel by the Palestinians, not only in Gaza or the West Bank, but also Arab citizens of Israel living in Israel also went on strike. And that is rare, that you can get all the people, you know, despite what privileges they might or may not have, to go out at once. So, but Biden didn't have anything to do with the peace deal. It was all done by Egypt. So he was pretty ineffective, and I think people are realizing it. He didn't really do much. He's going to claim that he did, but he really didn't.
Well, sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
You know, just claim a victory. We declare a loss or declare defeat, victory. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yep. But, you know, the states that are aligned with America, they're not supposed to hear air raid sirens on their own soil. They're supposed to cause air raid sirens on other people's soil. So the Israeli citizens spent hours huddled in shelters over the last week. And they're not going to forget that, I don't think. And then Hamas held a military-style parade in Gaza, and their commander appeared in public, even though, you know, he's under constant threat of assassination by the Israelis.
You mean he's still with us?
Pardon me?
He's still with us?
He's still with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They didn't assassinate him. And so Blinken also promised economic investment in the West Bank. Good luck. I mean, I'm sure the settlers will steal all that money. So, you know, we're so out of touch with the world, it's going to take a major, major reset. And Trump tried to get us out of there, out of the Middle East, and the Pentagon kept lying to him about how many soldiers were still over there.
Well, it's intransigent. There's nothing that can be done about that. The damage was done years ago. It was the first resolution out of the United Nations. They didn't even have to fight for their boundaries. It was just handed.
Yep. Well, they're the chosen people.
Well, did you hear Mike Lindell was kicked out of the Republican Governors Association conference after he promised to confront the Arizona and Georgia governors about election fraud? See you, Mike. I don't want your pillows.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from